Today at Let's Talk Marketplace, we talked about
why and how Ingrid and me are building our marketplace universe together.
And we discussed the B2C marketplace landscape for consumer electronics in Europe. There are 58 platforms to consider.
Which is why I had to play timekeeper today. Have fun listening.
Let's Talk Marketplace.
The Marketplace podcast with Ingrid Lommer and Valerie Dichtel.
Hello and welcome back to Let's Talk Marketplace. Glad you tuned in again, and we really appreciate your time, especially now as Black Week is already in full flow. Hope you're doing fine and everything is working out, no out of stock problems and lots of happy customers and everything. So I'm really happy that you have found the time to listen to us. Valerie, have you heard anything from the market yet regarding Black Week?
Yeah, but mostly help me, please. We have a problem. Do you have a contact to XYZ? I was like,
oh, okay.
Yeah, more like, okay, we updated the Zalando numbers wrong, and now we're not able to attend with those products because we just realized for 10 minutes that was a mistake. And I was like, ooh. I don't want to be in your shoes now.
and honestly, are there any last minute saves for things like that? Or is that just okay?
Yeah, it's like if you don't have a contact, then you're really fucked, to be very honest. And there's also a lot of things happening. There is one logistics partner who did move their logistic hub in November. Good idea.
Great idea.
And this is also a really fucked up situation right now.
Yeah, for the customers, of course.
Yeah, and lots of blocked products from many customers, which are not able to attend now at the Black Week. So yeah, there are a lot of things going on, which sometimes we're not allowed or able to talk about in detail. But I think sometimes we know more than we are allowed or should talk about. But there's a lot of things going on in the industry right now.
That's true.
And yeah, but overall, others are like, okay, we have prepared everything for the Black Week. Now it just can get into the sales and everything is fine. So I hope your status quo is more like this and not like the other one.
Yes,
holy shit, we missed it because whatever reason for. And often it's not their own fault. I mean, if it's your own fault, then yeah, okay. But if it's like a company which is a partner for you in doing a service which is not working out,
that's something that's not in your control. Bad. That's really hard then.
And if you cannot do anything, so I'm really I feel that's such a I don't even know how to put it in words, but it's really not more. It's more than a pity. It's really, really.
Deep sympathy. I think very deep sympathy for the marketplace managers that have to deal with that kind of shit.
So there's a lot of things going on right now. This is what I heard from the industry. But from our point of view, I would say Black Week is for us quite calm because you are all occupied with operational things and we have time to do strategy things for next year or other important things like founding a company and getting new notary meetings, which is hard to get end of the year. Or
I think it's time again for our most favorite German word, Statusfeststellungsverfahren, because that one is still going on. Who would have thought? We're dealing with this since, I think, July or something, and it's still not finished.
Still, we founded our company. It's a lot about I cannot tell you. It's so this whole Texas thing in Germany. Just to point out one thing. So we founded our company by end of June.
Yeah.
And then if you have to get your tax in there, right? And say we need a tax number and how much turnover we will do this year, blah, 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 and how much profit. And then we got end of July, maybe. So 6 weeks afterwards, we got our German tax number. And then beginning of August, but we have also employees or freelancers and out of out of Germany and also customers out of Germany. So we were not able to pay invoices or to get
to receive
invoices.
them, yes.
And and then we got, beginning of August, we got this is the amount of tax you already need to pay forward. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? You are not doing your job. So we're not able to pay taxes because we don't have the international VAT ID. And you are like already holding your hand there and say like, yeah, but you need to pay this already. It's like, I'm not able to pay it because you're
I
not
can't write
doing
any
your
invoices.
fucking job. This makes me so angry. Oh.
Yeah, I know. And then sometimes you read people posting on LinkedIn and saying, I just founded my company in 3 days in Estonia. It's like, well, I'm happy for you, but could you please, take your happiness and go somewhere else? Not where I can see it, because I'm not happy.
I mean, I have a different company in another country. And to be very honest, some of the things we needed were faster outside of Europe than in Europe, than in Germany. I don't blame anyone who's like making companies out of Germany, also outside of Germany, because it's a nightmare. I'm German.
Nice. Yeah,
and I'm German. I mean, I'm able to speak this language very well, but sometimes I see letters and I think like, what do you want from me?
What do you want?
Exactly. Wow.
Yeah, we just have to picture ourselves sometime next year when all of that is gone and everything is fine, and and
let's see.
We don't have to do anything anymore, so we just picture this. And you're always telling me you to visualize things, visualize, and then it's going to happen. So visualize yourself with no Statusfeststellungsverfahren or anything else regarding bureaucracy.
Let's see how politics will be, right? So. Time for founders are not so well. And for female founders, by the way, just like to do it in the end, there's no mother care Schutz, it's called Mutterschutz in Germany, for female entrepreneurs. There's nothing like that. So if you are employed, everything is fine and you are taken care of. If you're doing your own business, then you are completely on your own if you want to have a baby. And I think that's insane. Really. But that's like the end of the end of
rent. End of rent.
So I really I understand why numbers are decreasing about people who are funding companies, especially also women. So less than 20% are female founders.
Yes, and some of them are the two of us. So, and as we're together today in this episode, and we don't have a guest or anything, maybe we should, just treat each other like guests or something, or talk a bit more about what we're doing with our marketplace universe and the things that we bring to you, all the positive things that you can get with us, all the insights, and focus on that.
And what I do today, Ingrid, is I will interview about our newest marketplace quadrants about consumer electronics.
Oh, yeah. That's a good idea.
So that's actually the main content from today, besides rant. And we will tell you a lot about marketplace universe, maybe about how we found our companies, that we are almost 95% female team, 90%. So that's what we will talk about today. So Ingrid, if I treat you today as a guest and nobody else from our listeners know you already, but some of them don't know your background, which I often realize when I'm in like calls with potential clients. So I have 3 questions to you. Today we're talking with Ingrid Lammer about the consumer electronics marketplace quadrant in Europe for B2C marketplaces. But Ingrid, tell us maybe a bit about who are you?
Who I am? I am the co-founder of Marketplace Universe. I used to be a journalist for more than 15 years, concentrating on the e-commerce market, mostly in the DACH region, but more and more in Europe. And for the last 6 years, I've been concentrating fully on the online marketplace business. Yeah, that's me.
Okay. And what in one of the marketplace topics you are best? So what is your USP in the marketplace business?
I think my USP is that I have a very deep insight, meta insight in what is happening in lots of different marketplaces and lots of different industries. So I keep in mind lots of statistics and figures and company reports and everything that is happening inside the marketplace landscape. And I keep all of that in my brain and put it together in new and interesting ways, which is why I always get astonished looks when I talk about marketplaces in a one-to-one session, because they were all like, okay, how do you remember that kind of thing while you can't remember my name? Because I'm really not good at remembering people, but I'm good at remembering company figures and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm good with marketplace figures.
Then we are a good add-on, because I'm like really, really bad in remembering numbers. Really bad. It's like a house number turns from 14 to 68 in 2 seconds, and I don't know why. But in remembering people and faces and stories. Sometimes I forget the names, but I always can remember, like, oh, this person to this company and the story, what was their issue, etc. So that's that we are good add-ons. And Ingrid, what was your mission in your mission in founding a company with me?
Firstly, because it's great fun working with you. As anyone can testimony to that listens to our podcasts, it's always fun to create ideas together with you and create a community together with you, because we are so good add-ons. And then I also I love to educate people and bring them closer to their company goals or to their business goals with my insights, and show them new opportunities that they might not have thought about, and also maybe warn them against stuff that they have not realized yet, because I have a more of a meta view on the industry. And this is something that I really like to do, and that gives me great pleasure when people come to me and say, whatever you did just, or what you told me is very helpful to me and my business. That is very satisfying to me. And so when we came together and said, okay, we can put our talents and insights together to create a company that will benefit the whole marketplace community in all of Europe, that was something that was highly attractive to me.
And speaking about women in e-commerce or marketplace business, and overall, I know you have a big heart for that and a big focus on that. Do you want to tell us more about that one?
Well, yes. When I started out in the e-commerce industry, I was often the only female person on the stage. For example, when I started hosting conferences, or I was talking in the first years. I think I was normally only talking to men when I interviewed people for my articles and stuff, and I got quite accustomed to that. That is just normal, and also people often underestimating me because of my gender, for example. That also happened, especially in the beginning of my my journalistic career. And after a few years, I realized that I was in the position to change that, because I was able to, for example, invite females to my interviews or onto my stages. And I started doing that. In the beginning, it wasn't that easy, actually, because women were not that visible as they are today. But I realized the more effort I put into that, and again, the more backlash I got in a positive way from people coming to me, women coming to me and saying, this is inspiring to us, and we see what you are doing, and you are creating a space for us, You are creating something that I can look up to, or I see a woman on your stage and then I realize this is something that I could do as well. And again, this is very, very gratifying to me to hear that. So this is always sort of in the back of my mind, I think.
Yeah.
Well,
I also like when I started like being self-employed, I was also like, wow, they founded a GmbH in Germany. I was like so impressed. I was like, wow. And then I thought like, yeah, but if my friends or like back then could do this, then I can do this as well. And I have a network for it. And I think that's also kind of our approach. Like if we can do this, and yeah, we struggle too sometimes.
of course.
Then you can do this as well. So it's like, there are others who've been there already. And it's like, it's possible. If you are able to think like it's possible, I think that's most important.
Yeah, I think that's the two ways. It's first foremost, it's being first with creating the company, or also being on stage, because also people told me that when you are on stage and you're interviewing all those big guys of the industry, and you're fearless and asking, and this is inspiring to us. So you are going first and opening doors because you do it. And on the other hand, also leaving a room at the table, creating room at the table for more females. And this is, I think both of us are doing this. And I think it's an important part of our mission.
Yes, that's also the reason maybe why we have like 8 team members who are female.
Yes. There's one man.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one.
Yeah, with a tiny
a small
task.
role. Yeah, that's true. But that sort of happened. I think that wasn't... we weren't completely going for. We only wanted women.
No, it was like that happened.
It sort of happened.
Yeah.
But we didn't mind.
And it works out quite well.
It works quite well, yes. Absolutely.
Okay, Ingrid, one fun fact, maybe.
A fun fact. When people have listened to our podcast before, they know that I'm a bit of a geek. And I think the most geeky thing that I do is I do D&D roleplay, which doesn't say anything to you, I know.
No, I know this. Like you are
you
like...
know D&D? Okay.
Yeah, I could imagine...
Yeah, and so in my free time, I love to create stories which are out of this world or a bit gory here and there and always funny. And of course, I am the DM, so the dungeon master, the person who is telling the story, not who is playing the characters. So,
yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Maybe a fun story about us when we... talked about founding a company together, that we were like both just podcast co-hosts. Last year we were on a core concert in the backstage, which is usually known for as like a concert for death metal and punk and
yes,
stuff.
And there was a choir there, yes.
Yeah, it was a choir there. And there we talked about like, hey, what do you want? Like, and what do you want? And we were like, we both want the same. Let's think about that. And now we are here. So... Yes. You never know what happens on a core concert.
That's true.
Okay, Ingrid. So I think we... shall we introduce the Marketplace Universe as a company quickly?
Yes, we can, because it's always good if we do that more often. Because I think we've been practicing to explain what we're doing over the last half year, and we're getting better and better in it. So,
yeah, great.
What is the Marketplace Universe? The Marketplace Universe is the central home for all B2C European marketplace people. So for everyone who uses marketplaces to sell their products or to advertise their products. So both sellers and brands. And we are there. We like to be their home and their voice. Yeah, so the place where they come together to connect and to maybe find new insights, and also their voice towards service providers and marketplaces and every area of the industry where they might need someone to speak out for them. That's us.
Yeah, and also sometimes they're a problem solver in terms of like, we need someone who does like X, Y, Z. Like, can you support us?
Yep.
So yeah, that's what we do. And for like, what is our business model? Because I often get this question, like, how do you earn your money?
Well, in different ways. The main income here is that we have a target group, a reach audience in our industry. And if companies come to us, then they can book media packages, and we tell our audience about them, either in the podcast or in the newsletter or in on LinkedIn, and just tell them what this company is doing, what they're good for, and how they might help our audience with their marketplace business.
Okay, let me add the target group. Actually, we are supporting marketplaces and marketplace service partners to increase their brand awareness. Mm-hmm. Now you see like who's doing the sales and the storytelling part.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. So we work with whom do we work together?
Lots of companies this year actually, which is great because we just started out in June. So there was eBay, and there still is eBay, and Kaufland, and Plenty One, and Channel Engine, and TradeByte also, and help me out.
Textdo and Channable, Storefront.
Yeah.
I think we missed one. Bird, we're starting.
Bird, we just started.
We have some already in place for next year. Mm-hmm. So it's a quite mixture of like middlewares, full service partners, marketplaces, logistic partners, tax services. So looking forward to, and that's actually what we do right now, is like focus on our next year, sharing the media kits. So if you want to work with us, then always come to me or Ingrid, and then we're happy to share and talk with you. Yeah.
So that's great. the ad part out of the way as well. Because we don't have any ads.
That was our own ad.
Our own ad. Mm-hmm. That's right. Okay. Right. So have you now introduced me to your heart's content?
I would say yes. Yeah. So I think it's time for news, and then we go back. Then we go to the marketplace Quadrant for electronics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, first. And talking about news, there were lots of interesting things this week, so you don't want to miss that. Newsflash. Yeah, I think the most interesting news bit is something that is actually only applicable for the US at the moment, but there were lots of debates about it. You might have heard of Perplexity. Perplexity is an AI service tool, and last week they came into the radar of many e-commerce people because they have started a shopping assistant, an AI-based shopping assistant. And the thing here is, this thing is really, so it looks quite smart from what I've seen, from the demos that Perplexity is sharing, because it is able to go over complex multi-step shopping requests. So, for example, you can ask them, find me the comfiest headphones, which is a very shoddy ask, actually, but then the AI can ask you questions back, what you mean by comfy and whatever, and then go through the assortment of connected Shopify stores to offer you products, and you can even buy the product then directly in the Perplexity app. And that's maybe even more interesting, it can also go over requests that also include services or a bit more explanation. For example, you could ask the Perplexity ad, how can I build a wine rack for my cellar or something like this? And then the app would ask you about how big is the cellar room and offer you different materials that you can use, maybe even offer you some explanations on how to do it, or connect you to service providers that might help you with this idea. So this is actually huge. At the moment, the idea behind it, at the moment, it's a test, obviously, and the connected shops that in the back are it's not a big number of them, but it shows what could be possible if AI is really put into service, and how this kind of AI-based marketplace could look like. Really
And
fascinating.
actually, which is something which a person could never in this depth share or know. I mean, like in this variety as well. Is this like, because I haven't heard from it, so I will ask you all the questions. Is this something which is working like I need to connect my Shopify shop and then it's everything doing and I pay for Perplexity as a seller, or how does it work?
I'm not quite sure on that, actually. I started to look into it just last week, and I'm not that deep into it at the moment. I think I will. I've only listened to a podcast, to a German podcast, going a bit deeper into this topic, but I'm not that deep into it yet. But I'm definitely going to look into it. What I have seen is that it is already possible for merchants to contact Perplexity. They have their own landing page for that. It's also AI-based, interestingly enough. So if you go there, an AI will start asking you questions like, okay, what do you sell and what is your software behind it and all these kind of things. And then you get into a conversation with an AI. And I only did the first few steps, and then afterwards you would be contacted by Perplexity. But I don't know anything about conditions and stuff. I think at the moment it's basically a beta version and also closed beta. But it sounds very interesting. And at the moment, it's just open to the US, of course, but other markets are very likely to follow.
Great.
Yeah, sounds like something that, I don't know, it sounds a bit like future is knocking.
Yeah, there is something coming, like big steps forward. I think like in 2 years we will
be talking
say
about
like,
AI
wow, that was
marketplaces.
like so fast.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Great. Another news.
Another big thing was
happening in France, right?
Yeah, in France. That was interesting too, because it might change the face of French e-commerce, actually. There is the Molière Group. I think Decathlon and Boulanger and Auchan are part of them. And the Les Mousquetaires, and they include Intermarché and Leroy Merlin. And these two groups have recently fixed some joint purchasing agreements. So they're going to start working closer together. And now they have also started pooling their customer data and will use it for retail media. And that is quite interesting because, for example, if you put those two groups together, they have about 60% of the French DIY online market between them and about 30% of the groceries market. So this is huge numbers.
Crazy.
Yeah. And very interesting customer data, of course.
And then you can be much more specific in the retail media, right?
Yes. I'm just wondering how they're going to do it with regarding, data protection and stuff like that. But I guess they'll find ways around that.
Yeah. Actually, this is also what I heard. I mean, it's not so big news, but about Amazon retail media and the TV, the Fire TV advertising, which is also easy to very, very be specific about whom you want to send which advertisement. So that's also, it narrows it down quite well. And I think there's also a lot of things going on right now.
Right. And maybe one figure I found about Black Friday, because we have been talking about Black Week before. And that was an interesting study by the consultancy Kearney, because they have looked at all the turnover that Amazon sellers have made in 2023 around Black Week. And according to their study, it seems that the perceived increase in sales during the Black Week is merely due to a shift in sales because customers deliberately save their purchases until the bargain days. And because of this, if you put together all the turnover of before and after Black Week and Black Week itself, Kearney says that Amazon sellers have made a loss of 258 million euros because of Black Friday. Interesting.
Yeah, I can imagine that quite well. I'm also guilty. You too.
Me too, of course. I am.
So I was also like, okay, I wait one more week. Who cares? Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Right.
So other things, I think there was like one which is fitting quite well to electronics.
Yeah, that's leading quite nicely into it because the French electronics and home appliances group FNEC Darty. They also both have marketplaces, FNEC and Darty, both marketplaces. And they have bought Unieuro or Unieuro. I don't know how to pronounce that. That's Italy's leading electronics and appliances retailer. And Unieuro has been insolvent. I think I talked about that in some news 2 months ago or something. And they will now be delisted. And the operations of Unieuro will be integrated in FNEC Darty. So this group will be even more present in the European business. And I find that interesting because up to now, the electronics business, and this is something we might talk about now in our main topic of the week as well, is a bit more restricted in the country lines and the country borders, because electronics has traditionally been a market that, due to different laws and even different electronic plugs and stuff and qualities and all that kind of things, normally retailers stayed in their own borders. But now this is changing, obviously. So interesting.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, that were my news, I guess. So then, if we're already deep into electronics, shall we start talking a bit more about that?
Yes.
Okay.
Topic of the week.
So today our topic of the week is consumer electronic marketplaces in Europe and mainly focused on B2C marketplaces. I think we always need to mention that because we often get this like, but where is like, I don't know, Conrad, for example, in Germany is like, yeah, but they are mainly a B2B marketplace. So that's the thing why you sometimes maybe miss some marketplaces which are not a B2C marketplace. I think that's quite important. But today we are, focusing on the B2C side. And Ingrid, you did a lot of like research about our quadrants. Do you want to like give us a overall picture about the consumer electronics point of view in terms of marketplace business?
Yeah, it was quite a lot of work actually. Yes, because I think the first quadrant I did was over a year ago for this industry, and it was the first I did. And you hadn't touched electronics yet with your own quadrant. So I did that from scratch. And I got a lot of feedback and input from you all, and from your listeners and readers and stuff. And then this fall, I did a full new research actually. And I realized that firstly, the market is, or the landscape is a lot bigger than I realized in the first go. There's lots of new companies, and not that those companies have been founded in this last year. It's just that I didn't find them when I did my first research, for example. There are a few new entries as well. And as I said before, I started to realize that country borders will not be such a big deal in the future as they have been in the past. So there's some companies that are expanding over the borders, or that are going together, forming some joint ventures with other companies in other countries and stuff like that. And also because the electronics industry is so mature regarding e-commerce, and it's such an important industry for e-commerce business. There are also many marketplaces from other industries that are dipping their toes into electronics. Yeah, there's DIY companies, for example, or there's home and living, which is also starting to look into that. And there's even in the there's a whole segment in the refurbished area. That is a completely different marketplace landscape, and that is also because it's so attractive and pulling so many customers, that is starting to expand. So quite dynamic, I think, which is interesting because in general, the electronics market hasn't been doing so well in the last years.
I would say that consumer electronics and marketplace business is also very price sensible, right?
Yes, that's true. Yeah, so margins are small, and it's a hard business, and there's many competitors because there's such a huge turnover, and of course people are price sensitive as well. The customers know that they just have to look long enough, and they will probably find a cheaper price, and it's very hard to. I think it's not that easy to place a brand in here. Because there are some brands that are, of course, there's Apple, of course, yeah, and Samsung in a way. But in many areas, it's not that easy to really place a brand and say, okay, you're going to pay more for my product because I'm Philips. And then people might do it for a while, and then a new player like Ninja comes along, and then, prices are going down again. Yep.
Yeah. So there's like, maybe we give you a short intro about what's the quadrant. We're talking about the whole time already. So what we do with the marketplace universe, we bring together like on one quadrant with 2 axes, all the logos of the relevant marketplaces in our opinion, let's say. So we have like an x-axis, which is going from budget segment to luxury and premium segment, and the y-axis from everything marketplaces to specialized marketplaces / niche marketplaces. And there, Ingrid, how many different marketplaces did you put on here on this overview?
There are 58.
Wow.
Which is quite a lot. Yeah.
So we share this overview with you on LinkedIn and also on our website. So you can see it, because obviously we're speaking about a graphic, and we're speaking about this in a podcast, which is like a bit difficult to combine, let's say it like that.
I'll put the link in the show notes, and then you can look it up.
That's great. So what would you say are the big 3 top players, or how would you divide the consumer electronics?
I think the most important players are, of course, Amazon. They still rule electronics. I think they're accounting for 1/5 of the whole online market in Europe. It goes to Amazon, so that's quite big. And that goes for most countries, except of the Central Eastern region. So in Poland and Czechia and Slovakia and stuff like that, that's a different story there. But apart from that, it's Amazon. But in most Western countries, and also in the Nordics, eBay is a strong second. So still going very strong in the electronics market. And then we have players that dominate either a country or a region or a segment. So, for example, the Romanian OLX group dominates the whole Central Eastern region, like Romania and Bulgaria, and then in countries in Germany.
Which marketplaces are in this OLX group?
That's OLX itself. And then there's another Bulgarian group, which I can't find the name for. I looked that up, and I think Horeca is also part of them. So this is they have plenty of platforms. Some of them are even in India and stuff. So it's sometimes a bit hard to really realize which countries they attack. But mostly it's OLX itself. And
where is it on this page, Ingrid? I don't see it.
They are?
Where?
I have a look. Okay, I have a look. They are. I put them on. Okay, I have a look. Anyway, if not, I'm going to update it. You see, this is always a work of updating all the time.
Yeah. Okay, that's another question. Where do you get this data from? Which data is this quadrant based on? Because this is what we always get.
Yeah, they always get this question. That's based on different data sources. There's, of course, the e-commerce database, ecdb.com, which is a big data provider. But there's also, in this case, very interesting was a report by Cross-Border E-commerce from Belgium, because they recently did a report on the European e-commerce market for consumer electronics. That was very helpful. But there's also input from service providers from the marketplace industry, like middlewares, for example, or other service providers that are working with marketplaces and tell us about them. And then there's lots of company reports that reach our ear in one way or another. So this is a culmination of lots of different data sources that come together and in our minds, and then we try to form this quadrant from it. So, and this is why we always so adamant on is that this is not ranking, because we can't do a real good ranking, because there are no figures that you could really compare for all these companies, for all these industries, for all these marketplaces, especially not on a category basis. But what you can do is you can put all these different streams of information together and form a picture. A vague, sort of vague picture of this industry and of the players that are part of it. And so this is not a ranking, this is a start for a research. So if you're looking for a marketplace, for example, in the consumer electronics area, that you might try out for your own products, then this is your starting point. And you can look at our graphics and say, okay, these marketplaces might be interesting to my products, and then I have to check out each of them and look, okay, do my products fit in there?
Yeah.
Can I meet the price point? And everything else that comes together with choosing the right marketplace. So this is a starting point.
And if we talk about local heroes, because as you said, consumer electronics is a lot like fragmented between the countries. If we go through the different countries, and I ask you about some countries, can you name me the local heroes?
Foremost, yes. Yeah.
Okay, so let's start in Germany.
That would be Otto.
And Switzerland?
That's Galaxus.
Yeah, and also there's also Digitex, yeah? That's sometimes different or not. It's
But they are one group, but Digitech
is
more the electronics part, but they belong together. Yeah.
What about France?
France is not that simple. We've got FNEC that I've been talking about earlier, which is only electronics, but we also have strong players in France that are more of a generalistic marketplace, like CDON or Cdiscount, of course, and they also are very strong in consumer electronics. But if we go for specialists, then I would say FNEC.
Okay. If we talk about Spain and Portugal?
That would be Vorten in Portugal. In Spain, it's mostly Amazon. Then there's also PC Componentes, but this is more of a specialized player for, as the name says, PC components. So you won't get any classic, your TV or something from that platform. But normally it's in Spain itself, it's Amazon.
Would you like coming back, because I see the Quadrant as well, would you like coming back for Germany? What about MediaMarkt? Because you said Otto first for Germany. What about MediaMarkt?
There's a generalist, yeah, of course. If we go for we have a problem here, because we have specialist players that are very strong in one category, and Otto is number 3 in Germany. So it is very hard to say, are they stronger in the electronics area than MediaMarkt or not?
Yeah.
It's really difficult, because MediaMarkt is specializing on electronics, and they are going strong, but it's hard to determine how strong their marketplace is. Yeah, because we don't get any good figures from them regarding the marketplace. They are, and also for example, MediaMarkt has a good e-commerce business, but a lot of it is click and collect. for example. And I'm not really sure if marketplace products are available for click and collect. So it's hard to say. I would say MediaMarkt is definitely a very, very interesting player, and not just in Germany, because they have been expanding hugely over the last years. It's one of those companies that go beyond their original country borders. So they are also strong in the Netherlands, for example, and in the Nordics, and I think also in Italy. So they are an interesting player, but it's hard to say how successful their marketplace is.
Okay. So being a bit of the timekeeper, let's go a bit faster through the other countries. What about the Netherlands or Benelux?
Well, that's Boel.
Boel, yeah, definitely. About the Scandinavics, so yeah.
In the Scandis, there's the Elkjøp group. There's a strong player in the Nordics, and they have platforms such as Elkjøp in Norway, and Elgiganten in Sweden, and Gigantii in Finland.
Okay.
And they all of them have platforms. There's a retail group with brick and mortar stores as well.
What about Italy?
Amazon. Amazon. But that's just the Italian market. That's mostly Amazon.
Poland.
Allegro.
And I know, I'm sorry, but Central Eastern Europe?
Yeah, well, also a lot of Allegro. Then eMAG is interesting. And Heureka in Czechia is also interesting. Yeah. And Scrouts in Greece.
Okay.
Of course.
And one last question. What do you think, like, how the Chinese are approaching the European B2C marketplace, like Temu, what I see, Trendyol?
Well, from what I see, Temu has taken over the budget price segment in this category and all over Europe. So it's really hard to. Interestingly enough, just this week, Anchor, the brand doing the power bars and stuff like that.
Power banks, not bars.
And which is you're right. Power banks, which is originally an Amazon brand, and last week they started on Temu. And interestingly enough, Temu is matching the Amazon Black Week prices for the Anchor product. So they're not cheaper than Amazon, which I find very interesting, because after all, the point for Temu is to be cheaper than Amazon. If they're not cheaper than Amazon, then they are lacking, at the moment at least, they're lacking the USP. But on the other hand, they have to get those interesting brands. But for Anchor, if Amazon were to tell Anchor, okay, you are cheaper on Temu, we are blocking your products now, the business is dead. So I guess if they start on Temu, they would have to say, yeah, you have to match the prices there. So now they're doing it. Yeah, interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I think there's like a lot of more potential to tell and to talk about in the future. But for now, today, I would say, do you have some last statement you want to do, Ingrid?
Maybe just that this is maybe even more than the other quadrants. This is an industry where you have to look for your niche and for your sweet spot regarding prices and assortment. There are special players that we have not even talked about that might be interesting to your specific subcategory, for example, because it's such a well-developed market that there are niche marketplaces for nearly everything. So it's definitely, it's harder to choose your right marketplace here, I think, than in other categories even.
Yeah, and I would also say that there's like a difficulty to split the marketplaces, because between consumer electronics, DIY, and garden, and home and living, there is sometimes, depending on your subcategory, a possibility that you match to different of our country category quadrants. So,
for example, lights and lamps and stuff like that, they're fine on Wayfair or Blocker, or Conforama, but other products might be very happy on other, on maybe, for example, DIY.com. So,
So summarizing it, do your own research as always.
Yes.
And use the quadrants as like
as a starting point. Yeah.
Inspiration fountain of possibilities. Yeah, thank you so much, Ingrid, for this great interview with you today. It was a pleasure to have you here as my guest.
You know what? I like interviewing better than being interviewed.
Yeah?
Yeah,
I
because
know.
the problem is that someone else is then telling you to keep the time, and you go like, but I still have so many interesting things to say. Why are you cutting me short? I like it better the other way around.
Okay, next time you will have the other way around.
Yes.
What do we talk about the next episode? Do you know it already?
Next week we are back in German, and there we will be talking about Shein. And I have invited an old and trusted contact of mine, Dr. Gerrit Heinemann, who has been, he's one of the, I would say, e-commerce popes of Germany, something like that. And he has been doing a lot of research on Shein lately. We have been talking about that when we met lately at last on an event some weeks ago, and I asked him to come to the podcast and talk about that. Yep.
Great.
Going to be
So actually, that's also a topic which we will think about in the future, is like doing German and English alternating or no. So we would also love to hear your thoughts about it. And thank you for listening. If you like us, then please give us a great review. And if not, then don't. No. We are always looking back for your feedback, and have fun listening.
Yeah, bye-bye.
You listen to Let's Talk Marketplace,
the Marketplace podcast with Ingrid Lommer and Valerie Dichtel.